Hi there, tonight we are gonna make donut holes. Don't worry, it's not dinner, it's a special treat. This is new from Pampered Chef this season. We have a donut mix and a donut hole pan. We're gonna make them from start to finish so you can see how fun and easy it is. So if you have kids, they would love doing this with you. So let me show you a couple of things before we make the new batch. I messed a couple up on purpose to show you so that you could see how to make these. So the donut hole pan makes it's like kind of like munchkins, okay? They're gonna be round. If you overfill, you're gonna get more of a muffin top. So this is why you only wanna fill 2/3 full so you get that perfect circle, okay? So I'm gonna take these off. We're gonna make the batch that's gonna go in the oven, and then I'll show you how to decorate these. Our donut mix is really, really simple to prepare. You just need a little bit of butter and milk. Very simple. So I'm doing a half batch because I used half of the package beforehand. And if that's the perfect size for your family, the measurement's right on here. So you take your scale, use 6.1 ounces, so just half of the package with half the amount of butter and half the amount of milk, and you can just make a half batch if that's too much for you. So it allowed me to show you the other half. So I've got a half a cup of milk, 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Put your liquid ingredients into your bowl first. If you remember, it'll make it easier so that that dry ingredient won't stick on the bottom. So pour it all in here. These are not gluten-free. So if you want gluten-free donuts, go to my website, look up my donut recipes. There's one for vanilla, chocolate, and apple cider donuts. Just use the King Arthur gluten-free flour instead of all-purpose, and you'll have a gluten-free donut, and you could totally make that in here. So just mix it up a little bit. I'm using the small batter bowl and the small mix and scraper. It's ready. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so these are baked donuts and not fried, but we want to have a little bit of that crunchy texture that you expect from a donut. So take a little bit of vegetable oil and your pastry brush, and then just lightly brush your cups. I like to kind of alternate them because I am not going to use the whole thing. So I'm just going to brush a few of them, and then I'll be able to see which ones I brushed. I'm going to use the small scoop to fill them. And it's a little bit too big even, so don't make it too full because you don't want that muffin top like I showed you, right? So just, kind of eyeball it. Do you see how I just kind of have a little bit of space? And then we can always divide them up afterwards. So if you want that perfect round on top, just go a little shy of the full scoop. There is actually a set that includes the scoop, the donut hole pan, as well as a mix. We'll pop these all in here. These bake really fast, 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes, but really after 10 minutes, it was totally done. Okay, almost finished. Okay, so let's look at this pan and think about what other things you might bake in it. Maybe you don't want to do a donut mix. Maybe you want to do meatballs. Maybe you want to take some of your banana bread batter and make that in there. Anything you want to have kind of that rounded dome will be just fine. Okay, there we go. Does that make anybody crazy that they're not all symmetrical? I don't know. I like to have my eggs sort of organized. But anyway, these are gonna go in the oven. We'll say 10 minutes. And we'll set that here, and let's decorate a few. So my husband's teaching class virtually right now. And he said, could those donuts be ready by the time my class is taking a break? So here we go. We're gonna get those ready. So I'm gonna do 2 different styles. I'm gonna do some with cinnamon sugar, and then I'll do some with glaze. So this is just some white sugar and cinnamon. I don't even measure it. I just sort of add it in there until it looks right. Do y'all do that? So it's best to do this when your donuts are still warm if you're gonna do the cinnamon sugar, because it will help them stick. So we'll do a few like that, and just kind of roll them around in the bag. The sugar will stick. My donuts are not very warm anymore, so they're not gonna perfectly stick, but it'll kind of give you the idea. So if they're still warm, they'll have that extra moisture to grab onto that cinnamon sugar. Now the dark part will be on the bottom. The top part's not gonna be very dark at all. So that's what we're gonna use. We'll dunk the glaze in. So glaze is easy. If you want, you can buy jarred frosting and use that. I'm just gonna do it with powdered sugar and a little bit of milk. And I want it to be thin enough that I can kind of roll the whole thing in there. So I'm gonna add just a little milk. Now, if you've not made frosting before, it takes very little to get that frosting to be kind of soft. So if you have too much milk, add more powdered sugar. If it's too thick, you just add a little more milk. I'm gonna make these pink because if you've got kids, pink frosting is always appealing. So I've got a little bit of this Wilton one. It doesn't take very much, so just a little touch in here. We'll give it a stir, and it's gonna look pretty. So it's easier to stir with the right tool, right? Okay, so give this a stir. And I can see that this is probably a little bit thin even. So I'm gonna add just a touch more powdered sugar to compensate. And that should be perfect. All right. So if any of you love donuts, you've got to try making stuff like this. It's just really fun. And I can see that my frosting is probably a darker pink than I would have wanted, but it's okay. It'll work. You don't need to add any dyes at all if you don't want to. So we'll take one that's nice and round. So we'll just roll it all in there. That looks good. And here's a tip for you. When you are decorating, take a piece of parchment paper, or you can use one of your cutting mats. Either one will work. And then put your cooling rack over that paper so that it'll catch the drips. Okay, so here we go. We've got a donut just like that. And then we're gonna add a few sprinkles to make it pretty. You wanna add that quickly after you do your frosting so that they'll stick, okay? So there we go. We've got a decorated pink donut and a cinnamon sugar donut. Super easy, super quick, and a perfect activity to do with your kids or grandkids. I'll post a link in the comments for the donut hole pan. And I'll also post some of those links for the donut recipes that are from my website that you can substitute gluten-free flour if that's your preference. So I hope you'll give these a try. They're super yummy and my house smells really good right now. Thanks for joining me. Have a good night.